Good morning and welcome to Missoula Real Estate Today. This is Denny Bedard. Missoula Real Estate Today is presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Along with her trusted partners, Diane provides complete service for your real estate transaction and brings us guests who provide useful information on industry-related topics and trends. And now, Missoula Real Estate Today on News Talk, KGVO. Thank you, as always, for joining us. We got a busy show. We've got 3 guests today on Missoula Real Estate Today. We're going to talk about Sup Cup. If you don't know what the Sup Cup is, you will find out. But it's a stand-up paddleboard competition. But more importantly, it's a fundraiser for a couple of the organizations who are represented here today. But we also have Andie Zielinski. Andie's a realtor with Windermere Real Estate. We have Aaron Brock. Aaron is the executive director of the Missoula Food Bank and Community Center. And Aissa Wise, who is the Stream Team coordinator with the Watershed Education Network. I welcome you all. And Andie, we'll go ahead and start with you. You've been with Windermere quite a while now, but a real estate agent for how long now?
4 years. At Windermere, 11 years.
Yeah.
12, coming up on 12. So
prior to that, your duties are what?
I did office management before, but I originally started out answering the phones at the front desk at Windermere. So.
Yeah. And give us a report card. How's it been going for you so far on the realtor side of the business?
I have to say I'm very blessed. So I'm very lucky and I'm very grateful.
You can still brag up being named Newcomer of the Year in 2019. You know,
Stop it. Thank you very much. I appreciate
Missoula
that.
Organization of Realtors, if you want to.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You can be Realtor of the Year on Missoula Real Estate Today, but our sponsor might not be too crazy about that. We'll have to ask Diane first. What if anything surprised you about the difference between working in the office and getting out in the field?
I was super lucky to have that background. There's a lot behind the scenes that we don't realize that real estate agents do. I have so much praise for a lot of my coworkers, not just within Windermere, but within our real estate community. I have to say, especially right now, we're hustling hard and we're working hard and everybody's trying their best right now. So I'm really proud to be a part of this community.
Have you found that especially challenging? I think Missoula for a long time has been, the demand typically outweighs the supply, but you've certainly seen that a whole lot more recently, have you not?
Yes, it's been super exciting, if I could put it that way. We do have a huge need, and we're seeing more higher inventory come out and not something as low as we need right now. We need the lower income and first time home buyers and we need more of that right now. So if you're on the fence, call your realtors, you guys, because we need it right now.
But collectively, what if anything can realtors suggest? What would they like to see? What is the solution to that?
Well, I mean, we definitely would love to see some more inventory and for our prices to level back out because things just keep going higher and higher right now. And
sure.
And we want to get like our younger families or whoever families or need housing. Like we never want to see anybody struggle to get into what they need to be. So, yeah, we'd love to see more inventory. That would absolutely help level things out a little bit.
You brought up your coworkers a few minutes ago. What did you learn from your colleagues? I know that there are a lot of agents at Windermere that have been there a long time. Diane Beck's a great example. But
oh, my gosh. If I can't even tell you all the things that I've learned over the years from my coworkers, especially Diane. We have some major big dog brokers in our office. We have like our stats guy, Brent Wahlberg. He is just like so amazing. And he actually is Realtor of the Year with Missoula Organization of Realtors.
Wait, now when did he find that out?
In November.
Okay, he kept that to himself because we had him on.
He's humble.
You know what we do with Brent. Brent comes on 2 or 3 times a year because as you know, he's the numbers guy. Mm-hmm. He's the UNIVAC.
I know.
And we like to have Brent come in and give us the statistical report on average prices and just a whole lot of other things. But he humbly did not mention Denny. By the way, I was
no, he's amazing and he does a lot for our real estate community and our community in general, and Diane as well. And that's
sure.
a part of like why we are such a good family at Windermere is because we do collectively want to nurture each other and provide each other information, and we want each other to do well, and we want our community to do well. And, you know, I can always learn and grow from that constantly. And those are the people that, you know, make us better and push us to be better. And so that's what we want and need. And people like Aaron and Aissa who have these amazing programs that give so much to what Missoula is. People like that and people and brokers at Windermere are what we need right now. So.
And we'll talk with them about their programs and what's going on. But it's a perfect example of Windermere is one of those businesses, organizations that you really like to be actively involved with community events.
Yep. And Sup Cups. One of our big ones.
Cup's one of them. We're getting there, folks. If you're wondering, stand-up paddle boards is what we're talking about here. We'll find out how you could enter and certainly how you can support and who you'll be supporting. We're getting to those folks here on Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Our guest, Andie Zielinski with Windermere Real Estate, Aaron Brock with the Missoula Food Bank, and Aissa Wise with the Watershed Education Network, a couple of the beneficiaries of the Sup Cup. Andie, what are some of the ways real estate transactions have evolved, I guess especially over the last year or so, and I don't know, maybe a positive and maybe a negative result of those changes?
Well, positive, definitely. We're all feeling very blessed in the real estate community to be able to continue to work right now because a lot of people hadn't been able to through the pandemic. So, the fact that we have technology to help us through that is so huge. We definitely have been doing a lot of digital showings, which, you know, we weren't doing much of that and transitioned into that this last year. We're seeing that quite often, and technology has been our friend, and we're using it, and we're getting through.
I want to talk a little bit more about supply and demand, to your thoughts on our current housing market, because of those issues, maybe even greater than you thought they would be. But how is that changing buyers' mentality, if any way? I don't want to say they're ending up settling, but you, as a realtor, you've got to manage their expectations, and this many bedrooms and this many bathrooms on this much property in this part of town, that might not be available. But yet we have to be, or we want to be in Missoula, Montana. So you've got to manage those expectations. And again, I don't want to say settle, but do you see prospective buyers maybe willing to, I don't know, a branch
compromise on something that they wouldn't have thought they would have before?
I was going to say flexible, but yeah. Do you see a lot of that now?
I mean, yes, we do. I feel like I have been personally. Of course, we all want the huge pie that is there, but sometimes a piece of that might be gone and we settle for not settle, but it actually still can be a home and be something more than what we anticipated. So it definitely, sometimes there is a compromise, and you have to realize that and talk that out with your agent. And, is this wanting this master suite so much more than having a huge backyard? So you kind of have to weigh your options, and sometimes it might not always be the perfect one, but you know what? You make it into a home, and that's where you love and have your life. So it'll be wonderful no matter what.
What kind of homework do you have to do? You get a listing, and how much, I'm referring to product knowledge, I guess, but how well do you feel you need to get to know that house before you can confidently speak to prospective buyers about it?
Well, definitely need to do your research. I know that our community of realtors is super great about, following up and checking and going to the county website and meeting with the owners and finding out the history and getting together with the title company to make sure everything's good on the back end of things. So you do, as an agent, you do have to do your background on a property to get to know it well, to make sure you're pricing it appropriately, and featuring all the special features that is important to your sellers too.
All right. Let's get to the Sup Cup, the stand-up paddleboard event. First off, what is the Sup Cup, and who and how do they go about benefiting from it?
So the Sup Cup is a stand-up paddleboard race.
Has a rather long history now, doesn't it?
It does. I know. We're so excited. We did have to pause last year.
Yeah.
But yeah, 9 years.
Great.
So we're super thrilled to be on this adventure. And Watershed has been with us since the beginning. And then I think Aaron with the food bank had come a year after that. But it's a stand-up paddleboard race down the Clark Fork River. And we have the event to benefit these two wonderful community supporters. It's over 4 miles down the Clark Fork River, and we put in at Sharon Fishing Access, and we pull, everybody runs up the finish line at Bess Reed Park behind the Holiday Inn Parkside downtown. It's so much fun.
Yeah. And and certainly not a crazy thing. You don't have to be an adrenaline junkie to participate in the Sup Cup.
No, we have a couple different levels. We have an elite event and a recreational event. So if you're a first timer, it's so fun to get out with your friends. We've had people, I remember our very first year that had never been a stand-up paddleboard before. And they had so much fun that they wanted to go back down the river again. So they went back up and went down the river again. They had such a good time. So it could be a bonding and supporting thing. I know that Aaron and his team with the Missoula Food Bank have done fun stuff with costumes before, which we should probably talk about doing the best costume this year, you guys. Right. I feel like. Yeah. So maybe Watershed needs to get together and scheme up some good things for our teams about giving a prize out to the best costume.
And so entry fees and other ways that you can contribute during the actual event itself. Those are the proceeds that help benefit the Watershed Education Network and the Missoula Food Bank, yes?
Yep. All the proceeds go to that. We also, so the entry fees will go to them, as well as we're raffling off a inflatable stand-up paddleboard, too. Nice. So that'll help with the funds as well.
Yeah, all right. You swing the microphone on over to Aaron there, Andie, and I'll tell folks that this is Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Our guest, Andie Zielinski with Windermere, Aaron Brock with the Missoula Food Bank, and Aissa Wise with Watershed Education Network, two beneficiaries of the Sup Cup. And Aaron, we've got it over to you. Welcome to Missoula Real Estate Today. By the way, you're a first-timer here.
I am.
Yeah.
It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Now, let me go ahead and ask you, just get started with the Get Acquainted. How did you get involved with the Missoula Food Bank?
Gosh, my own personal history. I started at the food bank in 2003. If you're doing the math, I was 11. And I really did not know much about hunger or food insecurity or poverty issues. It seemed like an interesting job. I was interested in doing something in the nonprofit sector. The idea of giving back to neighbors was important, but I didn't know anything about what I was really going to be doing. And I remember my very first day on the job, walking in to the waiting room and seeing far more people than I would have expected who looked far more like me than I would have expected. And just this eye-opening moment of going, what have I missed in my state, in my community, in my nation? This is a big deal. Food insecurity is a big deal. And how has it been hidden from me? And so that was my first day. And here I am almost, 20 years later. And I love the work that I get to do.
Yeah. I think that is an excellent preface to a couple of the questions I'm going to ask you, but I also want to ask you about your duties. Executive director, so you pretty much do everything, don't you, Aaron?
My main job is to hire really good, smart, passionate people.
There you go.
Make sure that they have what they need to be successful in their jobs, and then honestly stay out of their way. That's most of my job.
There is that misconception, isn't there, that only certain people come to the food bank or only certain people qualify to use the food bank. Right?
Yeah, one of the great things about our organization is that starting back with its inception in 1982, we've never had any sort of means testing. Every single person is welcome through our doors. And what that means is that, yes, if Bill Gates walked through our doors tomorrow, then Mr. Gates can totally get some groceries. Obviously, that's not going to happen, right? Yep. But we see our families who are in need. But by starting from the place of treating food as a human right for everybody, where we don't pretend we're going to judge one person's worthiness over another. It means that we're able to meet people where they are and just start breaking down barriers. We see families on what, in some cases, might be the worst day of their lives, right? You can imagine some slide where you've lost your job and now you're worried about rent and, oh my gosh, I'm going to feed my kids. What's that going to look like this week? And the stresses and the weight that might carry. And I think one of the things we do really well is to try to treat people not just in a way that meets their physical needs, but that meets their emotional needs in that tough time also. How do we treat people with kindness that personifies the way that we in Missoula take care of our neighbors?
I think that leads to another misconception too, Aaron, that, well, the people that use the food bank, they're there every day. They use it all the time. That's not for me, but that's not the case. You are a temporary solution, and very temporary in a lot of cases, for so many people, and I would speculate that maybe a little more so in this past year.
Yeah, it was a really busy year for us, and I think a lot of frontline human service organizations saw similar things during the pandemic. For us, we saw more than 36,000 separate individuals just here in Missoula last year. Wow. That's close to 1 out of every 3 people who live in this community. About 60% came one time.
Yeah.
Right? And so for the vast majority, it's folks who are making it most of the time, but their budget is tight, and then some event happens, right? There's a car that breaks down, there's an injury, there's a short-term job loss, whatever it might be. And as they're digging themselves out of that hole, we make sure they've got some groceries.
Yeah. I think if I were to use myself as an example, fortunately, like Andie, I've stayed very, very busy and things are just fine. But if I lost all that, lost the jobs, lost the income, car problems, and I'm talking to you, I'm talking to the executive director of the food bank, well, why don't you come, take advantage of our services one time for a couple of weeks? And I think I would, and I don't think I'm just speaking for myself, I think I would struggle with, no, Aaron, because somebody else needs that more than I do. Yeah. I don't want to take somebody else's. I'll figure it out.
We talk to people literally every day.
Exactly.
Who feel that way, who walk through our doors, who say, well, I'm not gonna take this item because there's someone else who might need it more. One of the wonderful things, and I don't take for granted about this Missoula community, and it's personified in the Sup Cup, is the way that our business leaders and so many generous individuals step up and make sure that there really is enough for everyone. We spent close to $1 million on food this last year. Those are dollars donated primarily by our local friends. And what that means is that there literally is enough. We're good at buying food. We're good at stretching dollars. And when we talk with folks walking through our doors, if someone doesn't want peanut butter, right, they don't have to take it. Maybe there's an allergy. Maybe they don't like it.
Well, those people are just, they're not right. They're not right if they don't like peanut butter.
Fair enough. Yeah. But my point is that there is enough. There is enough good food for everyone who needs it. Yeah. And when someone comes in and uses our services, they are literally not taking it away from the next family.
Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Our guests today, 3 of them. We've got Andie Zielinski with Windermere Real Estate, Aaron Brock with the Missoula Food Bank, who we're visiting with right now, and coming up here, Aissa Wise with Watershed Education Network. Well, Aaron, talk about the facility itself. It's over at Catlin in Wyoming. Very, very nice looking building. What can first-time visitors expect to see that, might surprise them a little bit?
Gosh, yeah. We built this building in 2017. It's a really nice facility. And again, I really have so much gratitude to so many generous donors here in Missoula that made that possible. When we started thinking about building a new facility, we went out and talked with donors, and we really heard, please don't build a cheap building for poor people. Make it nice. Make it have a lot of other amenities. So, COVID's been super weird for us, like everywhere else. We've shifted our service model, so now it's been grab and go. Families are only in our building for maybe 30 seconds, getting a pre-made grocery cart that's full of food. And a lot of our kids' programming, cooking classes, and so on have been put on hiatus over the last year. We're excited, hopefully this summer, to start digging back into those sorts of other work. But it's a nice building, and you'll see friendly folks who are excited to help you.
And this ain't row after row of macaroni and cheese and powder milk. How do you merchandise, warehouse, and manage what's out on the shelves? And I guess hand in hand with that, I'd ask, how do you determine what to keep out of their demand, obviously, but you're looking at nutritional aspects and things like that, but all the managing and merchandising of the inventory.
Yeah. We buy about 90, maybe 95% this last year of the non-perishable basic staple food on our shelves. And these are, it's canned goods, it's dry goods, shelf-stable stuff. No one's coming to the food bank to get, a ribeye and a lobster tail. We're talking about basic staples. And we buy in bulk. We buy from the same places that grocery stores buy from, often in collaboration with local grocers. So if there's a screaming deal on Raisin Bran, our friends at Missoula Fresh Market might call us and say, hey, we're buying a bunch of this. You guys want in on this deal with us? And we can all collectively stretch our dollars that much farther. Food drives, and there were a lot fewer this last year for obvious reasons, but often there are, sort of constant food drives around this community at churches and businesses and gyms and so on. What those add is variety to our shelves. Yeah. So when someone comes in, instead of the 3 kinds of soup that we might buy in bulk, maybe there's 20 kinds of soup. Yeah. It's a benefit for those families that we see.
Very nice.
Additionally, we are buying milk and produce. We always want to have a good selection of those things. And we're out every morning picking up yesterday's perishable goods from all sorts of local grocery stores. So frozen meat, dairy, deli, produce, things that have hit their sell-by date but are still tasty.
Aaron Brock, the executive director with the Missoula Food Bank. I'll have you send the microphone on over there to Aissa, if you would, please, Aaron, and tell you this is Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Our guest, Andie Zielinski with Windermere, Aaron Brock with the Food Bank, and also we have Aissa Wise, who is the Stream Team Coordinator with the Watershed Education Network. First-time guest as well, and I guess I'll start, Aissa, by asking you, what's a watershed and why is its education important to Missoula and the surrounding area?
Hi, thank you for having me.
Of course.
Watershed is the area or a valley. You can think of it as the Missoula Valley, where all the water is flowing into one collective area. So we are in the Clark Fork watershed that flows into the Columbia River watershed west and then into the Pacific Ocean.
And what all are your duties as the Stream Team Coordinator?
Yeah, so we have a citizen science stream team, and it's a volunteer-based group of folks from all walks of life in the Missoula area, and I take them out to Rattlesnake Creek, and we collect water quality data. We get waders on, and we hike up, and we get in the creek, and we collect bugs, and measure rocks, and kind of look at everything around there.
What do you learn by measuring a rock?
So the pebbles or the rocks we measure for the substrate. So the substrate is the bottom of the stream.
Gotcha.
And so for a healthy stream or river, you want nice cobbly big rocks for a healthy substrate. So there's lots of bugs crawling in. There's healthy oxygen kind of flowing around. If the substrate is really small, like lots of fine particles and sand, there's not a lot of oxygen for bugs. And in turn, fish can't eat. In turn, birds can't eat. And water quality is not great.
Well, since we are on a real estate show, I'll work this in as best I can here. But an examples, I should say, of people such as homeowners or landowners who would find Watershed Education Network information useful. How do we apply it that way?
So right now, our scope or our area that we're working in is in the Rattlesnake neighborhood, with hopes to get into a lot of other creeks and streams that flow into the Clark Fork within the Missoula area. But for instance, in the Rattlesnake, we have a lot of folks that live in the Rattlesnake that spend a lot of time on the trails, and, their kids are playing in the water. People are fishing in the upper reaches. And so it's just a matter of understanding the healthy stream and why it's important to have a healthy stream in your neighborhood. So erosion of banks or, high nutrient counts or stuff like that is incredibly important. I mean, if you're going to have your kids play in the stream, you want to know that water's good. You want to know that bank you're standing on, or that's the bank that's on your property, up against the creek, isn't going to slough off. So just being aware of those processes of the river.
Yeah. I think you started to talk about this, and then I cut you off with rock measurements, but I'll get back to it. I know you like to get kids involved. Obviously been curtailed, at least some, over the past 12 months or so. But what programs do you offer school-age youngsters that hopefully you are seeing or will see soon start getting back closer to normal.
Right, closer to normal. That's what we all want.
Yeah.
So before COVID stuff, we were doing a lot of field trips. We were doing kids camps in the summertime and going out and collecting bugs. That's the biggest thing, is we collect bugs with these bug nets and ID them. So right now we're kind of piloting this new program called our Family Science Program, where we're engaging families with young kids, and we're sending them out to independently go and kind of observe and explore these rivers and creeks in our area.
Yeah.
So we're hoping to get some kits for people to come pick up, and they can go out with their family, and it's kind of like a scavenger hunt kind of thing, where on the kit they have all these little tools to go find certain bugs or certain birds or a cool tree or just kind of fun stuff to get them engaged in the watershed and kind of looking at it in a deeper way.
And besides something obvious like, say, throwing trash in the river, what are common things you feel, common mistakes, let's say, people make that you would like to try to correct that would benefit the community as far as the Watershed Education Network goes?
I think a lot of it's probably just education, talking about, trail etiquette along the rivers and banks, dog feces. That's a big one right now. Trash, for sure. Trying to get more of an initiative for folks to pick up trash, even if it's not their own trash. A little bit of everything. Also, like, leave no trace principles. We really try to push that with kids, especially going out and enjoying those creeks and rivers and the outdoors, and leaving no trace that you were there.
When you finish up with a field trip with younger people, or in this case, you're kind of promoting family events, but what is it that when you're done, what is it that you hope they've taken from you, that you hope they walk away with in terms of education and being more conscientious?
I hope that they share it with others. I always ask kids when we get done, like, so what are you going to tell your friends when you go down to the creek with your friends during the weekend, or if you take your family on a river float? I want them to be able to teach something to their friends or to their family members or to their little brothers and sisters. Picking up a rock that's been underwater, and you pick up that rock and you pull it out of the creek, and you can see all these bugs crawling around the rock. Yeah. And a lot of people don't know that. And so them just going out there and remembering that, and just like going forth and just being aware.
Excellent. If we'd like to learn more about the Watershed Education Network, how would we go about doing that?
So you can visit our website. It's montanawatershed.org. We have all of our stuff on there. There's also a really cool bug ID quiz on there, so you can really start honing in on your knowledge. Yeah. And you can find out more information about our family science as well as our stream team.
Great guess. Good job recruiting on your part there. Swing it back to Andie. We'll remind everybody that it's Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Our guests have been Aaron Brock with the Missoula Food Bank. You just heard from Aissa Wise with Watershed Education Network. And back to Andie Zielinski with Windermere Real Estate. And believe it or not, we're almost out of time, but we've got to let people know how, if they want to participate in the stand-up paddleboard competition, the Sup Cup, which is a ways down the road, I know, but it's never too
July 18th. Sign up now.
Yeah, sign up now. How do you go about doing that?
Go to supcupmt.com. We will raise our entry fees at, I think we're going to do it in July or June. I can't remember, but it'll increase by $20. So if you get in now, I think recreational is $50 and elite is $70. So those prices will go up when I think June.
Yeah, of course, you got to have a paddleboard. It's amazing how many people have those now, isn't it?
We're enjoying our waterways and getting out there and being active, and those beautiful days are slim sometimes. Yeah.
And by the way, with spring and summer coming, clean, drain, and dry. Those are, you have to have those inspected at the inspection stations as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Thanks for rounding everybody and coming in.
Thank you.
Did a great job.
Get signed up.
Good luck with the Sup Cup.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. For a complete directory of Diane's listings, visit move2missoula.com. That's move2missoula.com. We'll see you next time on Missoula Real Estate Today.